Excellent. So we should be recording now. Hello and welcome to our 15-minute session. We have 15 minutes in the spotlight to share with you inspired leadership. My name is Shelley Hendricks, and I'll provide a little bit more of a robust introduction a bit later with my colleague Angela. But basically, when I first discovered inspired leadership, I had these grand visions for leadership development. I was planning to build a comprehensive learning solution for leadership development, and didn't have the time really set aside or the resources to do it as part of my independent practice, running a business and doing the coaching that I do. Didn't have the time to actually build it. And then I met Angela, my colleague, you'll meet in just a moment. I quickly learned that she and her team at Inspired Leadership had already created what I was envisioning, and that's what we're here to share with you today. So the inspired leadership approach really addresses the problems and frustrations that I had when I was running an OD team inside a corporate organization. And I'm sure many of you have some of these frustrations or have experienced some of this as well. So capacity, there's always more work than capacity to deliver it. And you can go ahead and thumbs up or chat in the chat box as we go through this if you can relate to any of this. So capacity is certainly a factor. But in addition, there's this idea of what we call the squirrel conundrum. And that is, more than ever before, we're constantly distracted with the new, yesterday's priorities are now forgotten. And there are new initiatives that leave these old priorities on the boardroom floor. And so it's very easy to shift gears and move into new priorities. Those priorities change constantly. In addition, even before COVID, it's sometimes difficult to differentiate what is a good quality learning solution from what is sort of run of the mill or what is simply an informational deck that is provided in the guise of learning. And so now that most of us are working online, we've really seen this increased cadre of so-called learning solutions. And sorry about that. Did we lose my audio for a moment?
Yes, I muted everybody else because I think I heard somebody eating. So I thought, best I mute them. And
okay.
So maybe you want to just
I'm sorry. So how far back should I back up, Angela?
No, just on to C. You'd spoken most of that.
So, thank you. Sorry about that. I just realized it was not catching my audio. So anyhow, I was just chatting a bit about it's hard to differentiate sometimes in this new environment when there's a lot of content that's now available. Everything has been pivoted to online environment. And so how do you differentiate quality learning solutions from what might be simply informational or entertainment under the guise of learning? And for more than that, there are buzzwords around e-learning. There's a lot of digitization that can leave us feeling overwhelmed, confused, and stuck. And then we're here to tell you, inspired leadership was actually designed before we knew about COVID. And so keep that in mind as we share this as well. Another challenge that you may be facing or encountering is around talent retention. So this is always a priority in organizations, frequently a priority in organizations rather. And especially now, HR in particular, we need to focus on retaining talent who might be feeling a little wobbly in this environment. People are uncertain. In fact, as a coach, I'm getting a lot of calls for people who are exploring different career paths, knowing that they have other options available to them. So as an HR team inside a larger organization, how do we make sure our people feel connected, invested in, and that we have a commitment to their engagement and participation in the organization? And lastly, here, I want to share with you sometimes the challenges around result and impact. And there's a long conversation we could have about measuring effectiveness of learning solutions, and maybe you encounter this in your organization as well. And the numbers talk, and our CFOs, our C-suite really like to see the numbers. And so we're going to share a little bit about that as well. So we focused on solving these for you and solving these problem challenges for our participants. And so I'm curious, as you've been writing in chat, which of these have resonated for you as I've been describing some of these problems. I'm going to move this forward, but I invite you to share in chat. So Angela, why don't you share with us a bit about people challenges?
Yeah, so although we focused on solving some of the challenges that HR people that people like you and us have faced in our careers, we also needed to look at this problem from the people side. And the first problem we wanted to solve was this concept of training prisoners. And not training prisoners as in like training people in jail, but people who are often sent to training, or it's mandatory training. And what we have is people who don't want to be trained. So they're there under duress. And it's a little bit like when, imagine somebody buys you a gym membership and then tells you that you have to go to gym. That's what we do to people. We send them to something that they don't really want for themselves, then force them to attend. And long term, it actually doesn't have any real impact. So we wanted to address that idea of having people as prisoners in our classrooms. The second one is the challenge around time away. When participants attend training, particularly in the organizational levels that we serve, we can almost sense the backlog of work that piles up behind them. And they can almost feel the emails coming up behind them. And I notice as a facilitator, and I'm sure some of you who facilitate will have seen this too, that people are surreptitiously doing emails on their phones under the table to deal with one emergency or another. Whilst they may like the break from the office for a couple of days, the impact of being away for a couple of days is rather difficult for them when they return. And so the gains of training, the gains that you've made are quickly lost. The third area is around technical or functional experts. And these folk have invested their lives and all their expertise in developing these technical or functional expertise. But then they suddenly realize that they reach a ceiling in their careers when they bump into the need for the skills that they didn't develop as they were growing in their careers. So how do we deal with them? And then the last challenge, one of the many, but this is the one we've chosen to highlight, is succession preparation. Many organizations have no succession plan preparation for management appointment. And these very same technical experts or very ill-equipped early career professionals are then appointed to management, where they can have quite a negative impact on the team that they're leading, the team's engagement, their well-being, and even the performance of their teams. So that's it. Those are some of the challenges. I'd love to know from you, again in the text chat, which of those kind of people challenges do you feel is worth solving for you in your organization? Because that's really why we're here. Those are the challenges, that's the context of what we are trying to solve. So with that as a bit of a backdrop, I want to just talk to you about this inspired leadership solution. What we bring is a solution to those problems and a few more, and it is an intentionally blended solution designed to engage learners from across the learning styles that have been referenced just recently by Cherie Harley in her presentation just before. She was talking about the kinesthetic, the visual, and the auditory learner. We've designed this to engage all those different styles using a variety of both motivational content as well as neuroscience-based techniques, which make it both compelling and people want to learn. So it's an interactive experience as participants are active in the learning experience. It is not a passive, old style way of learning where people teach you. It is designed so that our learners are active in the learning experience, exactly as Ethan was talking about in the opening address. Is old school teaching is not appropriate anymore for modern learners. So learners need to take ownership for their development and apply what they learn in the flow of work. So we do this as partners with your organization so that we increase your capacity to do what is important and what is strategic, the work of developing people, without you having to really muddle your way through the latest bright, shiny technology fad and trying to make your way through the buzzwords. Plus, we stay the course because leadership development takes time. So we stay the course so you don't have to. Because what we start, we finish. And that's a big part of what our design is all about and how we work with your people. So let me tell you just a little bit more about what inspired leadership is and the pieces underneath it. I've given you a bit of a high level approach to what we do. So we have two journeys. We call them journeys because it's not something that you develop overnight. You cannot develop leadership overnight in a 3-day class. It is impossible, just like fitness. You can't go in a fitness camp for 2 days and walk away going, I am fit and I shall never need to do any more exercise. It's not like that. So emerging leaders, yeah, if only it was, isn't it? It's aimed at the level in our organizations, which you would know as high potential, so HIPOs, technical experts, succession plan preparation people, and early career professionals. People who are not yet responsible for the performance of others, but they need to learn to influence even though they may not have positional authority. So our journey it has got 4 elements, 4 paths. We call them a path, so it's not a quick thing. And each of those has 4 modules. Starts with 360 feedback. We have a group coaching session that is done in a format like this, so we can manage people geographically dispersed. And we work in small groups to build that connection, that human connection that we were speaking about and learning about earlier in the conference. So that's our one journey. And the second journey is manager to leader for first-line managers who are responsible for the performance of others. 3 paths, and we really go into the different elements of what it takes to lead people in a very practical, personal, and an application-focused way. So who are we? We've really sat in your chair, and we have a lot of experience and background. I have been 20 years in HR and more recently in leadership development facilitation and a bunch of different roles just like you. So we're practitioners who have built something and built a solution that caters for the problems and frustrations that I had that I didn't have the opportunity, time, or budget to fix. So I fixed it once I'd left corporate employment and started my own company. And that's what inspired leadership is.
And I'm Shelley Hendricks, the founder of Blue Horizon Solutions. And before creating my business, I worked in Fortune 500 companies for over 20 years, really focused around the emerging leader and manager populations, working in learning and leadership development during that time. And even there, our attempts at blended learning journeys were sometimes they felt a little bit cobbled together. They may not have been threaded through a 6-month or 12-month journey as the solution is. And so what we ended up with frequently was a series of one-off courses that the learner was left to thread it together. And as I said earlier, I was looking to build an online platform for leadership development when I discovered Inspired Leadership. And I realized at that time I can either get on board and work with Angela and collaborate, or still try and labor to build it myself. But what she and her team have created is this solution that I truly believe is, solves so many of the challenges we've already been talking about. And I'm, as a certified partner of Inspired Leadership now, I'm thrilled to have the opportunity to bring this solution to California. So with that, I wanted to also add that one of the reasons I'm partnering with Inspired Leadership on this initiative is because we share a common purpose. And we're very excited about what we are accomplishing with this common purpose. So at Inspired Leadership, the thinking is we believe that better leaders make better people. And the converse is also true, right? Better people often make better leaders. And so that interacts well. And then at Blue Horizon Solutions, long before I ever met Angela, our philosophy and belief is that learning mindset is the foundation for leadership development and leaders, so that leaders can leave a meaningful legacy for generations that follow. All right.
So, I'm very conscious that we are at the end of our time. We do have a couple of extra minutes. So what I just wanted to highlight is that Inspired Leadership is a puzzle. There are lots of different pieces that move together. It's not just a monodimensional approach. And we've created a special landing page for you, which you can access a video on that's going to talk you through the puzzle and the different pieces, but also just to, again, encourage you to go to our landing page. The link is also under that files section. We'll be in touch with you after the conference to, again, invite you to talk more about this. But our approach is very unusual. There is nothing like it on the market, and yet it is extremely practical. So we'd love you to join us in this conversation. We'd love to start a conversation with you in your organization to understand what your needs are and whether Inspired Leadership will be a good fit. We work at those two levels using a blended learning approach, digital platform. We use reflection as a big part of it. Critical reflection is a core part of what we do. And we are very big on the human connection. So whilst many companies will have gone, yes, I'll subscribe my people to a digital platform, no names mentioned, but we take that to a whole new level, because just having access to a library doesn't make you read. And even if you read, it doesn't actually turn that from a head knowledge into doing. So we really work hard at closing the gap between knowing what to do and actually doing it practically in the workplace and making a real difference to your organization, the culture, and the managers and the people that they lead. We really appreciate you being here. We hope that we can carry on this conversation with you and invite you to stay. We'll get kicked out in about 5 minutes, but until then, we'd love to engage with you. If you do have any questions or you'd like some more info, we've put that landing page together for you with a free gift as well to use our reflection cards that we use in our sessions with your teams in a very practical way to help with opening up growth mindset type conversation with teams. So thank you.
Thank you very much for joining us today. Please do reach out. Please go ahead and scan either that QR code or download our slides and be in contact, please. Thank you.
Thanks very much, everybody.
And for those of you who are staying on the line, we can answer questions while we have a few minutes.